Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with StraightSmile Solutions, StraightSmileSolutions.com, and today we're going to talk about spring retainers. And there's a variety of different types of spring retainers, and they all fall within the classification of spring retainers. So I'm going to show you two and kind of explain to you how they work, the pros, the cons, the benefits, and how they compare to aligners, um, and what they're generally used for. And now and again, especially if you're treating patients who are maybe in their 40s or 50s or 60s, this might come up because it is a decent option for aligning very, very, very mild inconsistencies in teeth. I'm talking like 1 to 2 millimeters max. That's all. Like no more than two. So if your patient's looking for something major with these, no, it's a big no. It's got to be like almost you barely see what you need with the eye. Like it's that minor. That kind of very minor relapse, like less than 3 aligners kind of relapse. Anyways, so there are spring retainers that so let's take you back in a history lesson. So way back when, before there was Invisalign in 1997, if we had cases and a patient had a little bit of relapse, and back then we used Holly retainers for the most part. So relapse, it happened, you know. If we had relapse and they didn't want to get braces put back on, which was a big deal, who wants braces put back on, right? It's expensive for the doctor, it's a pain for the patient. We did spring retainers. So this is kind of the most basic of the spring retainer, and this is how the spring, where it gets its name. This is a helical spring that you can activate by grabbing it with a 3-prong or a hemostat. It'll sit behind that tooth and push on it. Of course, same thing here. There's a more sophisticated version that I'd still call a spring retainer, but you can replace this helices with a screw, with a little screw that you'll have a key and you'll wind it up almost like you do in an expander, but it's just a little segment here and it can push it out like a block. It's a little, maybe a little more expensive to make. These are very inaccurate and very difficult, and the things pop in and out of the mouth. I'm not at all a fan of these. I like the screws with the helices a little bit better, but remember, these are only pushing in one plane of space out. That's it. Out, forward. They're not controlling any vertical. They're not doing any torque. Okay, so it's not going to quite look right, and you have very little control over how much it moves. So if you overdo it, in theory, you could crimp this back and tighten this bow up, and it might go back, but it might not. And it's probably not going to look totally perfect, but if someone's really looking for just a teeny tiny bit of improvement, and I've always been like, no guarantees, no guarantees. I just keep writing that down. You know, you get what you get, no guarantees, right? That's all I say, you know. I'll give you one adjustment if you put them in if you need it. And from then on off, that's your retainer, or you can make another retainer at cost. But you just need to make sure it's not like aligners. Aligners, I'm going to give a guarantee. What you see in the ClinCheck is what you're going to get. If not, I will get you there. So lab fee on these suckers is somewhere around, I don't know, 150 to 200. So, I mean, they're cheaper than doing, you know, an Express 5 or an Express 7 or something like that. Certainly a lot cheaper. And you can just take a regular stone impression or PVS and send it off to your local lab, have it made, have it fun, be colors, etc., etc. This is a more sophisticated version of that. When in this situation, it's still working as a spring, but what they're doing is they take the front 4 teeth with a moderate inconsistency. They section them out with a saw, and they wax them up with sticky wax. And then this is the spring action that can be tightened. And in theory, if your teeth, like if you don't wear it a little bit, then it'll push your teeth back and make them straight. But it doesn't control the verticals. Okay, you get a little more control and torque. This is probably a little more of an expensive 2x2 spring retainer, I would call this, where they reset the teeth. A little different than this. So now you know the differences between different types of spring retainers when you use them. Sure, there's still a place for them, but it has to be like so crazy mild that you can barely even see why they need it. That's the definition. Everyone else needs braces or aligners, you know, hands down. And of course, if you're doing really mild relapse, I always recommend the Express 7 over the 5 and the 10, because 7 comes with 1 refinement. So you basically get 14 aligners. I still don't like to give guarantees on those. I mean, like, I know I just said I do, but I'll give a guarantee for a light or a moderate, but for the Express 7, probably not. It would have to be something crazy, crazy minor. Then I'd give a guarantee. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful. Thanks.